A woman walked into my shop wanting my husband's face permanently tattooed on her body, and I spent 6 hours making it the most beautiful piece I've ever created. She came in on a Tuesday afternoon with a vision for something special. She wanted two faces woven together in a portrait piece, a man and a young girl, their features blending into each other like they shared the same soul. She pulled out her phone to show me the references, and my heart stopped beating in my chest. The man was my husband. I recognized his smile, his jawline, the way his eyes crinkled at the corners. The little girl looked about 8 or 9 years old, which meant she would have been born years before I even met him. A secret daughter, a whole hidden family from his past that he never told me about. But this woman standing in front of me had no idea who I was, and whatever my husband had done, she and this little girl didn't deserve to suffer for it. I was a professional. I told her to take a seat, and I started prepping my station. I threw myself into the work because focusing on the details was the only thing keeping me from falling apart. I mapped out the composition carefully, positioning his face and the little girl's so they'd flow together naturally, and my hand stayed steady. This piece has been years in the making, she told me while I worked on the outline. I've been thinking about it since she was 4 years old. I did the math in my head. He'd known about this child for at least 5 years and never said a word to me. I asked how they met, keeping my voice light like I was just making conversation. I was going through the hardest year of my life, and then I met him. They were together before me. They had a daughter together. Something happened between them, and then he met me, and I was just the next chapter while his real family was still out there. I pressed the needle into her skin a little harder than necessary, and had to force myself to ease up. He changed our lives completely, she continued. I nodded and wiped away the excess ink and asked if they still kept in touch. Oh, my daughter asks about him constantly, she said with a warm smile. I switched to a smaller needle for the detail work on the little girl's face, and I found myself searching her features for traces of my husband, his nose, his chin, something in the shape of her eyes that looked too familiar. She has so much of him in her, the woman said, and my hand actually froze mid-line. I asked what she meant, barely breathing. He's her hero. She wants to be just like him when she grows up. I finished the line and set my machine down for a moment, pretending I needed to stretch my hand. Really, I just needed a second to stop myself from crying. Maybe I was the other woman in a story I didn't even know existed. Maybe he never stopped loving them. Maybe our entire marriage was just the backup plan he settled for when his first family fell apart. I picked up my machine and kept working because the piece deserved to be finished no matter what it meant. We were in the final stretch when I couldn't hold it in anymore. I asked her directly what he meant to her, why she wanted his face permanently on her body right next to her daughter's. She got quiet for a moment, and I braced myself for the answer I'd been dreading. My daughter was diagnosed with leukemia when she was 4, she said. We tested everyone in our family and no one was a match. She was on the registry list for months, and nothing. The doctors told me we were running out of time. She looked down at the portrait on her skin. One day I was in a grocery store parking lot and I just completely fell apart. I dropped my bags and I was on my knees sobbing, and this man walked over and knelt down beside me and asked what was wrong. I told him everything, and this stranger, this man I'd never met before, asked me if he could get tested. He was a perfect match. He saved my baby's life because he stopped to help a stranger crying in a parking lot. I set my tattoo machine down and felt 6 hours of dread just disappear. That man is my husband, I said, and she stared at me like she couldn't process the words. I showed her my wedding ring, then the photos on my phone, and we both just sat there crying together in my shop. I went home that night and found him on the couch watching television like any other Tuesday. I sat down next to him and asked why he never told me he saved a little girl's life. He didn't even hesitate. She was scared and I could help, so I helped, he said. Anyone would have done the same thing. I told him that most people don't stop for a stranger sobbing in a parking lot. Most people don't offer to get tested for a little girl they've never met.